Okay, we're ready. Everything's good to go? Good, good. Okay, welcome everyone in the audience. Before we get started, Village of Anmore would like to open our meeting by recognizing the many Indigenous peoples of our area, including the following First Nations, with communities that are located in the region that we now know as Metro Vancouver. They would be the Musqueam, Squamish, Tsleil-Waututh, and Coquitlam. Further, we'd like to honor the important place in history occupied by the many territorial keepers of these lands and waters surround us since time immemorial. I'd like to call to order our regular council meeting. It's currently 7 o'clock. Could I get someone to approve the agenda as circulated? Someone to move. Second. Any discussion? See none. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried unanimously. Okay, public input. Matters raised here for council's consideration should be constructively focused on agenda items only. Please limit comments to a 2-minute time limit and save questions for request period later in the meeting. Any public input? No, we'll move on. No delegations. We have the minutes of the regular council meeting held on February 4th, 2025. Could I get someone to move the recommendation for receipt? Move. Any discussion? Councillor Richardson.
Yeah, on section F, 135.
If you could just give us a page.
8. F above.
8F, the 135 Oak Court?
Yes.
Okay.
So I thought we agreed, which didn't seem to be captured, that the stop work thing would be enforced. And it doesn't seem to be there. And the only reason I'm asking is because I was there and there was lots of building going on. So yeah. Did they stop work? Did we change it? And
Mr. Boyd.
Please.
Your Worship, we're still working through this. Scott Beck's currently away, our plan checker, and the building inspector this week, so we've not been able to connect with him, but we will be reviewing and providing a timeline to council of exactly what has gone on and what will be moving forward into the future.
But I guess I'm just going to, I'm with Councillor Richardson. It was pretty clear that a DVP was being asked for of this council to move the project forward. And I had asked at one point, if a DVP is not authorized by this council, what happens? And we're still waiting for those sorts of things. But in the meantime, a stop work order was supposed to have been issued.
I don't know the answer to that, Your Worship.
Okay. Well, the minutes don't, as Councillor Richardson said, aren't reflective of the discussion that went on there that night. Is that correct, Councillor Richardson?
That's my impression, because I thought we specifically said that the stop work order should be in place and should be enforced until a DVP is issued. And we're still waiting on that clarification, et cetera, et cetera. So my understanding is there should be no work going on, but they're fully working. Like, it's just a clarification question. Like, it could be that it was decided that, you know, the building is not part of the wall, so they can continue work on the building or something along those lines. But I was just surprised, because what it means to me is that means there's no penalty, essentially.
So there is still a penalty if the DVP is not granted. The penalty would surmount to removal of the non-conformance on the property. So that is still under review, provided that if council do not provide the DVP, that would be the penalty. When it comes to the stop work order, I don't have the answer for you. I need to provide that to you.
Okay. I think then in this case, the minutes should dictate that there was a concern about continuing activity should be added then to the minutes, because I know that we did mention that. I don't know how that needs to be worded, but I think that just simply another bullet saying, council concerns for continued compliance and development of the site while being reviewed. Okay, is that an acceptable change? Okay. Any other comments? Could I get someone then to we've moved to say so to approve the amended minutes with that one point being added. All in favor? Carried unanimously. Okay, thank you. Any business arising from the minutes? No? We'll now move on to legislative reports. 9A, zoning amendment bylaw, Village Hub. Report dated February 14th, 2025 from our planner is attached. Mr. Joseph.
Thank you, Mayor Ewan. So the purpose of this report is to recommend the rezoning of the Village Hub at 2697 Sunnyside Road from Civic Institutional P1 to a newly created Village Center Institutional P3. At the February 4th council meeting, staff was directed to draft a bylaw amendment to update the zoning of the Village Center to allow for small-scale commercial uses. The proposed bylaw, Anmore Zoning Amendment Bylaw 706-2025, reflects this direction. So currently, the Village Hub is zoned Civic Institutional P1, which permits government and nonprofit uses, but does not allow for commercial activity. However, the OCP designates the Village Hub as Village Center Commercial Land Use Designation, which differentiates it from other civic institutional zones like schools and public works. The proposed zone will retain the institutional functions and land use regulations that is currently zoned, while allowing for new small-scale accessory commercial uses aligned with the OCP land use policies for the Village Center. The three proposed uses and associated definitions are retail food service, meaning a business preparing and serving food for on-site or takeaway consumption, retail, selling merchandise directly to consumers, and commercial recreation, which would allow for recreational activities for public participation. The amendment will not introduce additional parking requirements at this time to avoid limiting existing parking requirements for the principal uses on the site. However, expansion of the parking on site may be considered once Spirit Park is reprogrammed in the future. So the recommended motion for tonight is that Council grant first and second reading to Anmore Zoning Bylaw, Amendment Bylaw 706-2025, and that staff be directed to set a date for public hearing for Anmore Zoning Bylaw, Amendment Bylaw 706-2025. Thank you.
Someone to move that? Moved, seconded. Open up for discussion. Councillor Weber.
Sorry. I still have some concerns about the parking, if that's going to be adequately addressed. Do you want to speak to that, Mr. Joseph?
Yeah, so through the chair, this bylaw does not include additional parking requirements for the commercial uses. Essentially, civic institution is the primary use with limited parking on site already. To introduce new requirements for commercial uses would just take away from the primary uses. So in the future, these things may be considered for parking expansion with Spirit Park. Does that make sense?
Just to follow, I mean, I get it for the purposes of this bylaw. That probably makes sense. But I wonder if we should get going on at least a plan for parking and increasing parking. And I'm wondering if there's a way we can do part of it without, removing Ravenswood or something like that. If we could add a few spots. If there's maybe Mr. Boyd through the chair would like to speak to that.
We can certainly look at that, Councillor Weberink. I think what's been tabled, I forget how long ago now, six to 12 months ago, was the conceptual plan for Spirit Park. That's where kind of the designated kind of additional parking would be provided. I think we've maximized most of the parking in and around this area so far, but we can certainly look to see if we could squeeze in a couple more spots somewhere, if that's something the council are looking for.
Okay, as long as it's on the forefront of our minds. Okay, thank you.
Councillor Cryer.
Thank you. I'm happy to see this on the agenda, and I'm looking forward to supporting it and having the public hearing. I have a question regarding the Spirit Park plan. Do we know where we're at with that? When do we expect that to come in?
I believe we're looking to go out to some consultation on it currently, back out to the village. I think with all the other consultation that's been going on with some of the zoning, it's kind of been tabled right now, but it's something that's still on the agenda to be moved forward.
Perfect. That's it?
Yeah, just a couple things. The Spirit Park, the conceptual plan, yeah, we were going to go out to get some consultation, but we're also in the process of reallocating some of our parkland from financials to be able to pull this off. So that's also in the works. Regarding the parking, notice usually parking is dictated by the square footage of the operation. And at 400 square feet, it's not significant at this point in time, but I do think that there is a bigger push regarding parking regarding this facility and the events that we've had over the last the last year in regards to, I can speak to the Ugly Sweater Run, the Christmas, Halloween, and stuff like that. So, Councillor Richardson.
Just two clarifying questions, please. Mulberry Lane still hasn't been moved officially. Is that correct?
Yeah, we're actually underway to actually re-subdivide the property to devolve the existing right-of-way and place a new right-of-way there.
And then lot 2697 seems to be linked with 1004. So there's only a building on 2697, and I don't believe there's any plans to have commercial space in 1004. So wouldn't it make more sense for 1004 to be purple rather than green, like P1 rather than P3 in the zoning map?
Through the chair, so you're asking why both of those parcels are being included in the amendment?
Yeah, I gather it's probably historical, but, you know, does it make sense moving forward? That's it.
Yeah. This was, I guess, included because it's also designated under the OCP as Village Center Commercial, both those parcels. So 2697 Hub Lands refers to both of those parcels.
Good. Councillor Trowbridge, do you have any comments?
No, not at this time.
Okay, no, okay.
If I may, I can also elaborate that as we go through the subdivision, that when we dissolve the right-of-way maybe for part of Ravenswood to look at the re-amalgamation of Spirit Park, it'd be beneficial for it all to be one zone right now so we can make sure that it's still compliant in that zone of the use.
Good. Okay, seeing no more comments, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried unanimously. Okay, now move on to 9B, zoning bylaw amendment, basement exemption and breezeway definition. This was something that was pulled out when we did the zoning bylaw and just wanted to get updates. So report dated February 14th from our planner, Mr. Joseph.
Thanks, Mayor Kuhn. So this report outlines the proposed amendments to the Anmore zoning bylaw, focusing on basement floor area exemptions, the definition of breezeway, and accessory building regulations. So following the November 5th, 2024 council meeting, changes to the secondary suite floor area allowances were incorporated in the Anmore zoning bylaw amendment bylaw 687/2024, which has since been adopted. The remaining updates in this report, based on council's request, addresses the breezeway definition, basement floor area exemptions, and accessory building floor area. So key amendment includes for a breezeway definition, staff are proposing to replace the term breezeway with connector to clarify the meaning and to avoid any misinterpretation based on the implied nature of a breezeway, being an open-air covered passage. The term connector is a more neutral term and captures a broad range of structural connections as well, whether that be conditioned space or non-conditioned space. So the proposed definition would be a connector means a structural connection between an accessory building or a structure and a principal building, such as a corridor, connecting a significant section of a building. For the purpose of the bylaw, a connector does not create a single building or structure out of the two building or structures it connects. So the definition also includes new language to provide more clear guidelines to avoid structures that essentially connect significant sections of buildings that would otherwise be separate, such as an accessory building or a dwelling unit and a single family dwelling. Alternatively, the definition can also include minimum width connections, such as a 4-meter minimum width connection to avoid narrow corridors. Basement floor area exemptions. So the basement regulations have been kind of the same. The parameters where basement story is less than 1.22 meters, 4 feet above average finished grade, will receive 100% exemption from floor area calculations. Basement stories basement stories more than 2.22 meters above grade will have 0 exemption. However, basement stories between 1.22 and 2.22 meters above average finished grade will receive a partial floor area exemption based on an updated formula which decreases linearly and proportionately. And lastly, for accessory building regulations, new subsection 9.1.3b is proposed to add clarity for the allowable total floor area of coach houses and accessory buildings on a single parcel within the RS1 zone. The section outlines the accessory buildings and coach houses will have a combined floor area cap of 180 square meters per lot. So under the Local Government Act, public hearings may be waived if the bylaw aligns with the official community plan. So council may choose to proceed with this option as the proposed changes align with the OCP. The recommendation on the table tonight is that staff be directed to draft a bylaw to amend Anmore zoning bylaw 568/2017 to include the recommendations outlined in the report dated February 14th, 2025 from the village planner entitled Zoning Bylaw Amendment, Basement Exemption, and Breezeway Definition. Thank you.
Could I get someone to move the, moved, seconded? Seconded, somebody? Seconded? Okay, open up for some discussion. Councilor Richardson.
Okay, so in the past when I've spoken of this, I was always super confused with the number of accessory buildings. I was always concerned that we reward smaller lots and punish large lots. And the breezeway, like, to me is a bit of a red herring. If somebody can build a 12,000 square foot house, why do I care whether that section is glassed and lower or it's a courtyard with windows all around? Like, I don't care. And the problem I have, okay, I care, but I don't think it's quite fair. If you build an RS1 based on this recommendation, you can build excluding basement and not taking advantage of the garage exemptions. You can build an 11,000 square foot house, okay? And you're allowed 3 buildings if and only if, my understanding is, one is a coach house. Is that correct? Am I interpreting that correctly? Or you can have 2 accessory buildings and one could be a coach house, but it doesn't have to be a coach house.
Through the chair, you can have 2 accessory buildings that are not coach houses, so long as you don't also have a coach house.
Okay.
However, if you do have a coach house, it can only be 1 accessory.
Okay. In a CD zone, like on 1/3 acre lots, that 1 acre could have 6 to 9 buildings. Right? So I'm looking at density per buildings per lot, but if 1/3 of an acre, at least at a minimum, is allowed to have a house and a coach house. And the accessory building thing was a little bit confusing because it changes based on the CD zone. So on a lot, but from a look and feel of Anmore, a 1 acre can go into 3 1/3 acres, and each of those acres, 1/3 of an acre, can have a house and a coach house. So there's 6 buildings on that particular structure, right?
There's a bit of a flaw with that. To do 3 1/3 acres, you'd have to do a CD zoning. You have to give up 30% of the land.
I understand.
So you can't cut a lot into 3.
No, I understand that. I understand that. And I understand that you've given up 30%, but as you drive by and look at density of buildings, ignoring the forested area off in the corner, there will be 6 buildings on that what used to be an acre. And in CD with infill, you're allowed to have 4 buildings, maybe more buildings, and you can build 14,000 square feet on that 1 acre. So CD infill have a huge advantage over RS1. Now maybe that's the motivation that the village wants, but if a guy already has a garage of a certain size, his wife wants a ceramic studio, and he connects it to his house through something that looks like a breezeway, I don't know why we want to stop him or them. Like, it makes no sense to me. Like, the guy could just build 11,000 square feet, and if he does a renovation and connects that structure to that structure and it looks nice, why do we care? Because I'm really worried that the breezeway thing or the connector thing or whatever we're going to call it is going to become this subjective thing that isn't rigorous. And to me, it has to be 100% rigorous. And the rigorous language isn't in here. Like the wording, I can't tell the difference between a breezeway definition and the connector definition. Like they're really fuzzy and subjective to me. And I don't think building bylaws and zoning bylaws should have any subjection in them at all. So I'm concerned about that. And I think we have to be fair to people with their larger lots if they, like, it doesn't make sense to me. So that's my thoughts.
Okay, thank you. I do think, well, I'll pass it on to other people here. I do have a bit of a remedy for the breezeway, but I'll get everybody else's comments, so you could. Councillor Trowbridge.
Yeah, I mean, relative to the similarities between an RS1 acre and a CD, as we've all recognized, you have to give up 30%, which means you can't start with an acre. You have to start with 1.4, 1.45 of an acre. So in terms of its appearance, it's almost a 50% larger piece of property. So I'm not sure that flies, but I do get some of the other points and don't disagree. What I think is we're trying to avoid going back and changing the situation by a narrow hallway where there's already two structures and we suddenly turn it into one with a hallway. So I like the fact that we're taking the comment breezeway out and turning it into connector, because a breezeway to me, it doesn't even have walls. It's a roof that you drive through or walk through or whatever. It's a breezeway. So I think that term needs to go because I think it was confusing. But I liked what Josh said. You know, turn the connector. I think it should join. To not be a connector, I think it should join the foundation. I think it should be 4 meters, the width of an average room, wide, and be a conditioned space. That's my thoughts.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Trowbridge. I agree with your comments because for quite a while the breezeway was being used to basically connect two independent structures, which has happened up here in Anmore on several occasions. So I think it's good. We've already gone through the zoning bylaw as a council and through workshops and a committee of the whole, talking about how we were going to stagger the different, what a third acre was going to be allotted on a property, half acre, and then a 1 acre. Noting that due to the size, they'd be able to create more. I think on a third of an acre, the accessory buildings can total about 1,200 square feet. I think above half an acre, it's up to about 1,800 square feet. So there is a sliding scale in regards to lot coverage. So I'm comfortable with that, but I do agree that rather than the breezeway, we make it it used to be referred to as a conditioned space. And if we could make that at a minimum 4 meters wide, is that an easy addition to put on this? Or what is 12 feet?
Just a little higher, but.
Yeah. To be able to add that to it, because then it takes away from that and actually adds more to the scale of the existing premise. So if you, we've moved and seconded the first one. I don't know who moved it. I think it was Paul or Councillor Wevering. So with that, if we were to amend that to add the 4 meters, or is it already in there? Defined?
So no, it was presented as an alternative. We could actually include it, but we don't have a bylaw on the table tonight. This is for consideration for future
Just
bylaw.
okay, perfect. Okay. Yeah, Councillor Wevering.
Sorry, whatever we call this thing, does it count towards the FAR of the lot?
Yeah.
Okay, so does it really make a whole lot of difference? And the breezeway, walls or no walls, would that count towards the FAR? Say it had no walls. Say
No.
it was like as Councillor Trowbridge described.
I believe the answer
It would likely cover lot coverage,
for sure.
Yeah.
Lot
but
coverage.
not FAR.
Not FAR. So if it's a conditioned space, it would count towards your FAR. Are people still going to be able to build a breezeway without walls? Like, can they just go build a breezeway, or would we not issue a building permit for that? It's
Well,
testing you guys.
yeah. So any structure or building that's above 100 square feet will require a building permit.
Right. Okay.
So that's covered in
and
terms
it's going
of
to
building code.
count towards the lot
Yeah,
coverage.
whether accessory and structures. Yeah.
Okay.
That would be covered. Right now, the definition leaves it blank. It could be walled or unwalled. So it's broad on purpose so that it captures anything that's being proposed
Okay.
for the purpose of connecting two structures.
Okay. Thank you.
Councillor Trowbridge. Oh, sorry. Ms. Elrick.
Thank you. I just wanted to confirm the amendment to the main motion, and then if we could get a mover and a seconder for the amendment. that it would be in terms of the connector, that the space would be conditioned, would be a minimum width of 4 meters, and would join the foundation.
Okay. Someone to move that amendment? Moved, seconded? Any discussion, any further discussion? And this is just to prepare a bylaw, so. Okay, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried unanimously. Thank you for your work on this. Okay, public notice bylaw amendment. Ms. Elrick.
Thank you. So this bylaw was before council at the last council meeting. In addition to the update to our procedure bylaw, this is just the amendment to the public notice bylaw, which is the bylaw that regulates how we provide notice for legislative items. So the recommendation this evening would be that council adopt Anmore Public Notice Bylaw Amendment Bylaw 705/2025.
Someone to move that? Moved. Second. Any discussion? See none. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried unanimously. Okay, thank you. We'll now move on to Mayor's report. I've just got a brief Mayor's report. In the news as of late, there has been a story regarding the Anmore store and the canoes. For many, many years, the canoes were stored down at Bunsen Lake. Again, that is a public entity, so they had to get moved. They're moved up to the store right now. So the store, the owner of the store had reached out to me. Actually, I met with them on October 29th, Jennifer, and she was asking about, is there some sort of pass she could get to be able to run canoes down and then pick up canoes for people that want to rent them from the store. So I met with Ms. Elrick and that. So I followed up with our liaison with BC Hydro on November 19th, again on November 26th, and then again last week, February 13th. Hadn't had any response. I did get a response today, I think because it was in the news, and they said that they are looking into it. So let's hope that they can give some sort of a pass to be able to allow pick up and drop off of these canoes to facilitate the business that they have there. And that's about all I have for councillor reports. Councillor Weber.
The only thing I have is I believe we have a joint Environment Committee and Parks Committee meeting coming up on February 27th, and we have a guest from the Bear Aware program. Is that correct? Ms. Elrick, through the chair. Anybody?
Thank you. Yes, through the chair, we are just confirming the availability for the Bear Aware representative. So we will make sure that we have that posted to the website once it's finalized.
Okay, and will there be staff present at that meeting? I think I might have asked this
Staff,
before.
yeah, staff is available. If council wishes to have staff available, we will make ourselves available.
Okay, thank you.
Good. Ms. Cryer, or
Thank
Councillor
you.
Cryer, sorry.
Thank you. A couple of things. One, can I clarify that the school zones, 30 miles per hour, those are kilometers, apologies. That is 24/7. That is not, yeah, I've been struggling with folks just like up in my business when I'm,
It's
like they're-
actually during school hours.
no, it's always.
I believe it used to be
It did.
in school hours, and the signage got changed. I don't know when, but I think it got changed to become 30
Yeah.
at all time.
It's been a while.
Miss
Karen.
Elrick has a hand up too.
Ms. Elrick?
Through the chair, I believe that the school zone through the elementary school is during school hours, or the posted hours, which I believe is 8 to 5, if I'm not mistaken. The 30 zone down past the middle school is that goes into Port Moody. That whole strip along there is 30 always. So from just past the stop sign at Charlotte all the way into Port Moody is 30 kilometers an hour always. And that was the signage was updated at the request of RCMP.
Yeah, that's great. I don't think a lot of folks know that, so I thought I would bring that to everyone's attention. A couple of things coming out of the CC committee. I did have a special committee meeting last week regarding the event, which would be a Anmore business showcase marketplace gathering, and it was an excellent meeting, and we're continuing to have conversations, and hopefully by the time we have our first meeting in March, so our next meeting, we'll be able to report more on that. And then on Monday, I have a meeting to bring back and expand upon the dementia information session that I had prior to the pandemic, so in my last term. So we're looking forward to bringing that back now that we have the hub up and running. It was very well received. And that is all.
Good. Any other, nothing? Ms. Elrick, a Chief Administrative Officer's report. Do you have anything?
Thank you. Just one item. Just a reminder to everybody that dog licenses are due at the end of March. And if you don't already have a dog and license, I would encourage you to pop into the Village Hall or visit our website to get one. We are looking at and have included in the budget for council consideration this year some animal control services contracted through the city of Coquitlam. So it is something that we are wanting to turn our mind to, making sure that everybody has their licenses updated. Thank you.
Good. Ms. Martin.
This is for the CAO report. I gave Karen the wrong information. It's March 1st, not March 31st. Thank you.
March 1st?
March 1st, dog licenses are due.
Okay. I'll repeat that. March 1st, dog licenses are due. Okay, we'll move on. We have some information items. I'll now open it up to public question period. Public is permitted to ask questions of council regarding items pertaining to village business. 2-minute time limit applies to speakers. Okay. Is that on? Can we turn that mic on?
Hello, Jurgen Dirkten, 1815A East Road. Just two questions. I'm going to ask the first question. Given that Anmore has a number of well-qualified and experienced volunteers who are prepared to serve on committees, why do the select committees not meet regularly? And why are meeting minutes not posted on the village website in any consistent manner?
Ms. Elrick, do you know why the minutes aren't?
So for the first part of the question, minutes are posted onto the village website once they are adopted for all committee meetings and council meetings. And in terms of meeting schedules, the committees meet once council has referred an item to them.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the last part.
Once council has referred topics for the committees to meet, and I believe those committees are up for renewal fairly soon. Is that true, Ms. Elrick?
Yes, correct. Typically, the recruitment is for the end of March, so we'll be looking to see how we're going to recruit those committees. Now they will be ongoing until recruitment happens. So we do have some engagement coming up, particularly related to Anmore South. So council may choose to extend that on into that engagement or go for recruitment ahead of that. We'll have that discussion in the coming month.
Yeah, I'm just wondering why they're activated in, or apparently activated in light of Anmore South and not functioning in light of the village of Anmore. But I won't pursue
Well, we
that.
actually just got some tangible data to actually have conversations about, so that'll be interesting, and they are going to be tasked. We're trying to fit it all in scheduling-wise. So.
Okay, well, my second question, if you don't mind.
Yep.
Given that the hub is open only for a limited number of hours, is the village administration considering or planning to coordinate with the fire department, the Sasamat Fire Department, and say a revived emergency preparedness committee to ensure emergency coverage outside of village working hours? In other words, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And in addition, would it be possible to highlight both these emergency management plans and the fire department contacts and the non-emergency police numbers on the front page of the village website.
Ms. Elric?
Thank you. We do have EOC, Emergency Operations Center, 24/7. There are a number of staff members that are part of that, and we are on call and do attend when necessary. The last EOC activation was during the Atmospheric River event, where there was a bit of a washout on Sunnyside. We do coordinate where necessary with SVFD. They are a separate entity from the village, but we certainly maintain contact and coordination with them. They have their own website that has contact information, and all of the contact information is also included on the village website.
The Saskmat Fire Department is contactable or has contact information on the website, the village website?
Yeah, I believe it's under, I'd have to check exactly where it is, but yes, it is on the website,
Well,
and the non-emergency RCMP as well.
It's just not very evident to me and maybe some other residents. The gist of the question is as well, like, why are we leaving emergency planning to just, specialists, so-called in the administration, and not involving as well the people whose lives are at risk, who stay here all the time?
Would you like me to respond to that?
So I'm having a really hard time hearing.
I couldn't hear.
Mayor McEwen, would you like me to respond to that?
Sure.
So we are required to meet certain legislative requirements that do need to be managed from a staff level. We're certainly, happy to involve volunteers where necessary, but there are requirements that need to be met, and they are stringent requirements. So it is managed through a staff level.
Thank you.
Yeah, I can, just to follow up with Ms. Elric, we used to have it as a volunteer group, and literally worked off the side of somebody's desk, and it just didn't get the attention that it so deserves. So we've actually brought it in staff, and it's quite impressive what they do and the training that they do for the EOC. And again, it's become very much regulated now from the province, so we're in very good hands. So thank you.
Thank you.
Any other public question period? No? Move to adjourn. Moved. Second. Any discussion? Doug? All those in favor? We're adjourned. Thank you, everyone.